Our learning intention for today is to tune into a specific part of the spelling inquiry. Our success criteria is identify interesting words, describe the impact of one interesting word, analyze the word using a spelling inquiry, and transfer your understanding of the word into a sentence. So I'm just going to go back to the learning intention. So it's about tuning into a specific part of the spelling inquiry. What teachers have noticed is that some students, or most students actually at our school, tend to rush through the spelling inquiry because they really just want to get all of the different sections completed. And this can sometimes take away from the purpose of the learning. A spelling inquiry, to inquire means to research and to find things out. And it's what we are trying to say to you guys is that it's okay to spend time inquiring a word using some parts of the spelling inquiry, and it's okay if you don't complete all of the spelling inquiry, because we want to encourage you to do things that are interesting to you. So I'm going to read the poem and I'm going to take you through the thinking that you should have. I move along the page like the snout of a strange animal, shaped like a human arm and dressed in the sleeve of a loose green sweater. I sniff the paper ceaselessly, intent as any forager that has nothing on its mind but the grubs and insects that will allow it to live another day, only to be here tomorrow, dressed perhaps in the sleeve of a plaid shirt, nose pressed against the page, writing a few more dutiful lines, while I gaze out the window and imagine Budapest or some other city where I have never been. So in order to be able to really understand a poem or any text, you need to inquire into the words that, first of all, you don't know. Second of all, words that you find interesting or words that have been used in an interesting way. So I've gone ahead and I've underlined some of those words, and I'm going to choose one word to complete my spelling inquiry on. And the word I've chosen for myself today is the word forager. So the very first thing I'm going to do is look up the meaning of the word forager. So a person or animal that searches widely for food or provisions. Okay. In my spelling inquiry book, I'm not going to write exactly that definition. I'm just going to simplify that so it's easier for me to understand. So it's a person or an animal that searches for food. And I'm going to stop there. So a person or animal that searches for food. Now I'm going to move on to a different part of the spelling inquiry, and I'm not going to necessarily go into the order that this is suggesting. I'm curious to find out about the root word of forager. So we know that the root word of the word forager is forage, because ER is a suffix, something that comes after the root word. So forage, okay, it can be a verb, which means to search widely for food, but there also could be a noun, food such as grass or hay for horses and cattle. Okay, that's very interesting. I myself did not think about the word forage as the noun definition. So I'm going to go back to my spelling inquiry and pop that in. Just going to double check. So food for horses and cattle. Great. the next part that I'm going to look into is, because I've looked into the root word, I'm now going to look into the suffix er. And I'm really curious about the impact of the suffix er on a root word. So I've gone and looked up the different examples of the suffix er. So this first example is that the suffix er is used to give a person their occupation. So what does that mean? Let's think of some examples. So lawyer, law-er, teacher, teach, er. Okay, so it can be used to give a person the job title. Another way, few more examples that we have here is butcher, butler, carpenter, officer, and so forth. And if I go through this page, I can actually learn a lot about the er suffix, which is what I'm really curious about. So I didn't just go to the one page, I went to a few different pages, and essentially the purpose of er in the word forager, I learned, is that it turned the verb into a noun. So what does that mean? The verb is forage, and when we added er to the verb forage, it became a person, a forager, which is a noun, and it's a person that searches for food. So it's a person that shows the action, which I thought was very interesting. And if I was to actually record the entire process of me doing this, it would have definitely taken some time. And if I go back to my spelling inquiry notes, I probably would have had many notes about the suffix er, and I probably would have left out a lot of the other parts of the spelling inquiry, which is completely fine. Okay, you should not spend more than 15 minutes on your spelling inquiry, and in the 15 minutes, if you spent that time only researching 5 parts, it's not a problem. You can always come back to it another time and complete your spelling inquiry. Okay, so what we are looking for, guys, is quality over quantity.